Raccoon City Police Department's Elite Special Forces Division, Special Tactics and Rescue Service, or STARS, has been an integral part of the series' story and mythos for as long as it's been a thing. STARS was our introduction to the world of Resident Evil in the first game, and though that group as we knew it then would go on to be dissolved, its most important members, the ones who survived the events of the first game, have all been mainstays in the franchise ever since. Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine have been among the two most important of the series' long list of protagonists. Albert Wesker remains one of the best Resident Evil characters to date, and Rebecca Chambers and Barry Burton have both had their time to shine over the years as well. Even though they might not exist as stars anymore, all survivors of the Spencer Mansion have gone on to have major roles to play in future installments to varying capacities. Well, almost all of them, because beyond those 5, there was one more STARS member that managed to make it out of the first game alive. Brad Vickers. But while the others made it out through sheer grit, determination, survival skills, and force of will, Brad only made it out for the worst of reasons. He's a character that not many have too many fond memories of, even though he may not exactly have been a bad guy, but it's easy to see why that is. At the best of times, Brad was little more than cowardly, for the most part at any rate. But let's start at the beginning. Those who've never been too ingrained in the Resident Evil mythos might be wondering, who the hell is this Brad fellow anyway? Well, he's a member of the STARS unit, as we've already mentioned. More specifically, he's a part of their Alpha team. And what exactly did he do? Brad had several roles in STARS. His primary one, as a trained helicopter pilot, was to serve that same role in the unit and transport them to and from missions as they responded to situations. Something else that Brad was trained in was hazardous protection, which meant he was often their go-to guy when dealing with hazardous substances. And finally, being a computer expert, the STARS unit, and by extension often the RPD, also relied on him to find and procure digital evidence as and when it was needed. STARS' most challenging mission came on a fateful night in July 1998. For some time prior to that day, strange and mysterious reports of deranged dog attacks and cannibalism had been coming with progressively greater frequency from the Arklay Mountains just on the outskirts of Raccoon City. And as they often did, the RPD relied on STARS to check this threat out. The first ones to respond from the unit were Bravo Team, but Rebecca Chambers would be the only one out of all of them to actually manage to make it out alive. The night before July 24, STARS and RPD lost radio contact with Bravo Team, and the following day they sent Alpha Team, comprised of Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, Brad Vickers, Joseph Frost, and their leader Albert Wesker, out into the Arklay Mountains not only to investigate the source and nature of all these strange attacks, but also to figure out what happened to Bravo Team and why they hadn't been in contact with HQ. However, things quickly took a turn for the worse immediately upon their arrival. While flying above a dense forest in the Arklay Mountains, Alpha Team spots the remains of Bravo Team's helicopter down below. Brad sets his own chopper down and the squad heads out to investigate, discovering the dead body of Bravo Team's pilot inside. And to make spooky matters even spookier, it is at this moment that Alpha Team 2 get attacked by a pack of ravenous wild dogs, which are zombie dogs, but they don't know that at the time. Alpha Team's Joseph Frost is ripped to pieces and killed by the pack, and while Chris, Jill, Wesker, and Barry scramble in attempts to fight off the zombie dogs, Brad panics. He hurries back inside the chopper and flees. But let's give credit where credit is due. After the fear and the rush of adrenaline accompanying it wear off, Brad quickly realizes that leaving his fellow STARS members behind like that was probably wrong, and immediately heads back. Of course, by this time, they have all headed into the Spencer Mansion to seek refuge, or that's what they think at least. Albert Wesker, the mastermind, has other plans entirely. Throughout the course of RE1, while his fellow STARS members traverse and overcome the deadly innards of the mansion, Brad continuously tries to get in contact with them. Eventually, he does manage to find them right at the end of the game, as Jill, Chris, and Barry fight off a tyrant on a helipad. Brad spots this, and still having all of their equipment on board, tosses a rocket launcher to them down below. Using that, they are successfully able to kill the tyrant, following which they promptly board the chopper. Brad flies them away back to Raccoon City while a self-destruct sequence blows the Spencer Mansion to hell and back. Back at Raccoon City, STARS tried to get Police Chief Brian Irons to launch an investigation into Umbrella and its activities. But Irons, like many others, is also in Umbrella's pocket, and he refuses to take any action. STARS is disbanded, for which the ever-timid Brad chooses to take the RPD's side, or, well, at least on face value. Chris, Jill, Barry, and Rebecca decide to continue their investigation into Umbrella on their own, and head out in different directions, well, most of them anyway, while Brad also agrees to covertly help them do so. He doesn't get much time to be too useful, unfortunately. Merely a couple of months after the Spencer Mansion incident, Raccoon City is torn apart by the outbreak of a deadly virus developed by Umbrella that turns people into zombies and creates a lot of other horrifying monsters that all run amok in the city. Many are killed, many are infected, and it becomes clear that Raccoon City is a lost cause. By this point, Jill and Brad are the only two STARS members left in Raccoon City, with all the others having set out for different assignments as part of their Umbrella investigations. And though both are separated from each other at the time, everything hits the fan in Raccoon City, and Jill and Brad quickly cross paths once more. Unfortunately for Brad, it's also the last time that happens. Right outside the gate of the RPD, with their quest to find a way out of Raccoon barely even having kicked off, Jill and Brad encounter none other than Nemesis, the hulking and menacing bioweapon who's been sent to Raccoon City with one goal, and one goal only: to find and kill every single member of the STARS unit. Yep, Nemesis quickly pounces and stabs Brad with his disgusting tentacle, and sadly, he doesn't die a quick death. While Jill escapes into the RPD and away from Nemesis, Brad falls unconscious and eventually, due to having been infected by Nemesis' tentacle, becomes infected and quickly turns. The precise details for what happens to Brad and how things conclusively end for him are sort of up in the air, but there's little doubt that he's dead. Even if zombie Brad did somehow managed to keep alive, he would have been eviscerated, like millions of others, when the United States government drops a thermobaric weapon on Raccoon City, which makes the entire city explode and go up in flames. So yeah, obviously his fateful encounter with the Nemesis right outside the RPD is where we last see Brad. He's never appeared in a mainline Resident Evil game since then, which makes sense because he's deader than dead. He will, however, be making his return in the Resident Evil 3 remake. Given how Capcom seemed to be much more comfortable remixing and changing story elements in the game, it wouldn't be a surprise to see Brad get a bit of an expanded goal. Either way, we'll find out soon enough, and we can't wait to see what the game does with Brad, or if it even changes anything at that, and with other parts of the story as well.
And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to switch on the notifications bell icon next to it. That way you'll never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.